While Lieberman served as Attorney General in Connecticut in the 1980s, he has no federal law enforcement background. Other candidates the president was meeting with include the acting director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe, another FBI official, Richard McFeely, and former Oklahoma Governor Frank Keating.
Well, let's just say we had a good conversation.
President Trump also got some backup, welcome or not, on his claim to have done nothing wrong in discussing intelligence with Russia's foreign minister. Russian President Vladimir Putin today offering to provide Congress with a transcription of the meeting.
We are ready to provide recording of Trump-Lavrov talks to the U.S. Congress and Senate, of course, if the U.S. administration wants it.
The offer raised questions as to whether President Trump might have some company in his suggestion that his conversations are being recorded.
Do you think the Russians were bugging the Oval Office?
I would have no way to know that.
The announcement of the appointment of a special prosecutor really does change the whole trajectory of the Russia investigation. This is what Democrats have been screaming for, and suddenly the Justice Department has handed it to them on a silver platter. It kind of harkens back, Brett, to the budget negotiations when the White House said, well, you know, we don't really need funding for bricks and mortar for a wall, which kind of threw the Democrats back on their heels. They didn't know how to respond to it. It will be interesting to see tonight in the coming hours, minutes actually, how Democrats respond to the fact that Robert Mueller, a well-respected former director of the FBI, is now heading up this Russia investigation. Brett?
You know, John, quickly, one of the things about a special counsel is that he or she can go anywhere they want to with an investigation, and oftentimes goes to places that you wouldn't think that the investigation would take them to. One of the concerns about this, obviously, for the White House and for Republicans.
Yeah, clearly it is. But don't forget that these days the special prosecutor, Brett, is different than it was back in the 1990s. The special counsel statute was allowed to expire. Neither the Republicans nor the Democrats wanted it. That's when the appointment of a special prosecutor was moved to inside the Justice Department. So this may proceed in a little bit more orderly fashion than special counsels who were outside the Justice Department did in the past. And I think it's probably pretty safe to say that Robert Mueller will be focused on the Russia investigation. Will try to get to the heart of that as quickly as he can and to the best of his ability without going down some tangential routes that may take him in absolutely in directions that may lead him way out in the political wilderness, as Ken Starr was so well known to do.
Yeah. John Roberts with the breaking news on the North Lawn. John, thanks. Just moments ago, the Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein with a quote from the Justice Department, quote, "In my capacity as acting Attorney General," and we should point out acting Attorney General because the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, has recused himself from this particular investigation because of the meetings he had with Russian officials, including the Russian ambassador. So Rosenstein is acting Attorney General, continuing the quote, "I determined that this is in the public interest for me to exercise my authority and appoint a special counsel to assume responsibility for this matter. My decision is not a finding that crimes have been committed or that any prosecution is warranted." Let's get some analysis from Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge. Good evening, Catherine. You covered Robert Mueller for a long time.
I covered him through that whole period when he came into the job at the FBI just 1 week before 9/11, and then through to his retirement, which was a 12-year term. And that sounds unusual because it's a fixed 10-year term, but he was asked by President Obama to do an additional 2 years. There are a couple of things that strike me about Robert Mueller just from my experience reporting on him. He's someone who has really been tested. Going through that post 9/11 period, he really took the Bureau and he helped make that pivot from sort of a law enforcement, crime-fighting, bank robbery type organization into a counterterrorism and counterintelligence organization. And he was someone who was really tested in the course of his term as director. It was during the Bush administration that he took a stand with his deputy at that time, James Comey, who would go on to become FBI director. And they threatened to quit over the White House surveillance program. And significantly, it was Mueller's notes that he took about those events, which were were later used to back up Comey's version of events, which the White House had questioned at the time.
Just broke this news at the top of the hour. Jason Chaffetz, the House Oversight Committee chairman, tweeting just moments ago, Mueller is a great selection. Impeccable credentials, should be widely accepted. You heard John and I talking about how this changes the dynamic of this investigation.
It changes the dynamic in the sense that Robert Mueller is really a seasoned and trained investigator and will follow the facts wherever they lead. I'm not saying that wouldn't have been true with the other investigations, but this means that we can open up a number of, we'll say, options or possibilities in terms of how the investigation could fan out beyond Russia. What I'm really struck about when I think about Robert Mueller is sort of two personal anecdotes, if I can. You know, the FBI had a major anniversary during the period of his term, and he said to me that the fidelity, bravery, and integrity, which is what FBI stands for, really resonated with him personally because he began his career as a Marine, and that later, when he left that job 12 years later, there was a lot of personal sadness because he had built so many relationships in that organization. So he's someone of integrity. He understands how the FBI works, and he's a seasoned career investigator. And he's been tested many times in the past under, I would argue, conditions that were a lot more duress than even what we're seeing today.
Let's just take a quick listen to Robert Mueller from his announcement when he was chosen as FBI director.
The FBI is the foremost law enforcement agency in the world. I look forward to working with the thousands of dedicated men and women who are agents and employees of the FBI to enforce our nation's laws fairly and with respect to the rights of all Americans.
You know, it's a fairly small community, Catherine, and it is interesting that his deputy was James Comey.
It's a very small circle when you get to that level of leadership. Everyone's almost worked for somebody on the way up, or they've consulted with them once they've gone into retirement. So it is a very small circle. But in choosing Robert Mueller, I believe what the Justice Department is trying to say is that we're going to rely on someone who has a lot of government experience and who is someone who can be seen as very apolitical in this process. I would note that since he has left this position, you really haven't heard boo from Robert Mueller commenting on politics, and I think that will be extremely important going forward with the investigation.
Catherine, as always, thank you. Let's get some perspective now. Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma serves on the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator, thanks for being here. I want to get your reaction to the breaking news that Robert Mueller has been chosen as special counsel by the Deputy Attorney General to oversee this investigation.
I think it's good news on it, but I think it also helps expedite the process because the good folks of the FBI, the career folks that are there, have been leading this investigation. There's been a lot of work that they've done, and my concern all along is that someone would be selected or they would push this to an outside individual and run something autonomous from the FBI and be able to skip and lose all of that work that was there. It was my questions to McCabe last week when he came before us. Is the FBI prepared? Do they have enough people? Are they capable of being able to finish this? He was unequivocal in yes. Bringing in a Robert Mueller, he's going to access all those same folks and that same information. So that's a plus for us to be able to keep this thing moving and not have to start all over again.
Senator, I guess the question is, what do you think changed in the Deputy Attorney General's mind about having enough resources, being able for the FBI to handle the investigation as it was going? And you heard the acting director, McCabe, testify to you, among others, that they had everything they needed and they were committed to continuing this investigation as it stood.
So I don't know that anything has changed other than there has to be a decision maker. There has to be a prime mover in this, that when decisions have to be made for directions on the investigation, who's going to do that? At this point, McCabe obviously is the interim director. You've got Rosenstein, which has had the challenge right there already. You'll have a new FBI director at some point, and I think the decision was made, from what I can tell, to say we've got to have somebody that's the prime mover, last decision maker in this, that is unequivocal, neutral on it, and nonpartisan. And if he brings in someone like a Mueller, it allows them to do that, but also allows the FBI agents to continue to be able to do their work.
Where do you think this investigation stands? Obviously, we've seen a number of reports. They are from anonymous sources, including the one in the New York Times that broke yesterday, citing these memos. I know there's been a call for former Director Comey to testify and to provide those memos. But do you believe that to be true as it was written in the story originally?
That's the great unknown. This for the last several months, there's been an overwhelming number of anonymous sources and unnamed sources that are out there in media stories. We tried to push with the Select Committee on Intelligence from the Senate to be able to actually get facts, get the real sources, get those individuals, be able to talk to them, to be able to see the documents behind it. So we're not getting unnamed sources, we're actually getting the facts. I know the FBI has been working to do the same. So at the end of the day, we want to be able to meet with Comey. We need to be able to talk with him. We have requested of McCabe to be able to present any documents that Comey may have had, any notes that he would have, so he could add to our investigation. We will continue our investigation, gathering those notes, doing interviews, the same as Mueller will now lead the investigation to be able to do that. So we really have 3 investigations going. All 3 of them are independent of each other, and all of them are checking each other, and all of them should be nonpartisan.
There is some frustration at the White House, or reported frustration about the lack of an investigation into leaks, the unmasking part of this. Do you believe that will somehow step up under this new structure under Robert Mueller?
That should be a part of the investigation. It has been a part of the investigation from the Senate Intelligence Committee to be able to look at it. We have to be able to look at the actions of Russia and what they did against us during our last campaign. We have to answer the question if there was any collusion from any American citizen with a foreign government in our election, and we have to answer the question of leaks. That has always been a part of our investigation, because all of those are serious issues, have to be addressed, and I would hope the FBI would be able to continue that as well. Obviously, they will determine the boundaries of their investigation as they have the facts, and they're going to go where the facts are going to go. But we know the direction that we're going to try to go and get the answers to.
Senator, one of the things that has not leaked since the beginning of this, and we have seen, as you've mentioned, many leaks, is any hard evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. You're on the Intelligence Committee. Can you tonight say definitively that you have not seen any evidence of that collusion?
We're going where all the facts go. I'm not trying to state anything before we are done, but we have agreed together to be able to look at everything, to go down every path, and to answer every question.
And so far, you haven't seen anything?
So I'm not going to say where we are so far. I'm going to say we're going to keep following the facts, so when we get to the end, we can say with certainty we've checked every area, and this is the final result that we found. But I do not like it when people try to prejudge where things are going. But I would tell you, people have not been shy to be able to leak out information as they have found it. So that's been pretty clear through the process. At the end of this, President Trump is going to have to do what President Obama did when there were lots of leaks in the Obama White House, is to be able to deal with the leaks that are coming out of the administration and coming out of any entities, because that also hurts our intelligence gathering long term.
If the Comey memo surfaces and we have our own independent confirmation that there is this memo, and there are many other memos of the former FBI director in one-on-one conversations, not only with the president but with others, where he took fastidious notes. If it is exactly the wording, as it's being told to us, of him asking Michael Flynn to hope that he can get past this investigation, asking James Comey if he can get past the investigation of Michael Flynn. In your mind, as some Democrats today have said, is that evidence of obstruction?
You know what? I've heard from legal authorities and other individuals that are knocking down this accusation of that's obstruction of justice. It's one thing to be able to say, I hope we can get past this, he's a good guy. It's another one to say, you're going to stop, and we're going to find a way to stop it. If the president was trying to obstruct justice by releasing Jim Comey from his position, that was a miserable failure. It didn't look like he was, because he's not relieving any of the assets, the resources, trying to change anything from the FBI. That investigation continues regardless of who the director is. Clearly, we can see that today. So there was no hesitation in the investigation. There was no delay, and there seemed to be no other pressure other than I wish this was all could get resolved. Everyone wished it could get resolved. But the issue at the end of the day is there a legal standard for that? Not that I have seen, and I can assure you plenty of folks are cherry-picking notes to be able to bring out what they want to bring out, but we don't have the context for it. We will try to get that full memo and to be able to have access so we can see all the context.
Yeah, Senator, you were one of the people who was against a special counsel or a commission at one point.